Morning everybody, and well done for getting up or staying up wherever you are in the world, and welcome to ABB FIA's Formula E World Championship. It's round 10 here in Jakarta with a double-header weekend for rounds 10 and 11. Today though, it is Saturday morning and it's time for qualifying at 4:45 a.m. We are going to get racing here as well. The qualifying is due off in a few minutes' time, so let's join the Formula E team on trackside as we get ready to join the action. Starting off though, as well, listening to Mitch Evans talking down with our pit reporter.
More risk of dropping your front wing, being caught in an accident. So, but yeah, we always try and aim for the front and then going from there.
So, would you say after now having done free practice 1 and free practice 2, things are looking in a good place?
Me personally, I thought I was late for qualifying or something. To be honest, I was hoping to be a little bit stronger so far. So we've made some tweaks between FP1 and FP2, making some more tweaks to qualifying. But I definitely felt more comfortable in the last few races. So yeah, last year I was more comfortable here, to be honest. So yeah, we knew it was going to be a little bit different. But yeah, Sam was quite competitive in that last run. I was okay, but not where I would expect to be. So yeah, hopefully the change we're going to make now will help the car.
Well, we'll see. Nice one. Thank you, mate.
Cheers, guys.
Thank you, Saunders. Mitch Evans, by the way, one of the coolest customers there is. Interestingly, one of only 2 drivers to have actually competed in duels 7 times. He'll be very curious to find out what you make of this track, Ollie. It's a tough one.
Yeah, let's go. So we're on board here, driver's eye with Pascal Wehrlein, one of our recent championship leaders, sitting P2 right now. Heading into turn 1, heavy braking, a fantastic passing opportunity on the track, probably the best. And you'll see here, just no time to rest from this point on to the end of the lap. And I want to pause here. Look how difficult this car placement is into this corner. It looks like he's going to clip that wall.
Yeah.
And so at the apexes, when there isn't a curb, it's just a wall. And a lot of times you see the driver, clip that inside, and then they lose steering. So. Very, very crucial car placement here for Pascal, and we'll move on. Yeah, the closer you are to the walls, the less in the dirt you are. So moving on into turn 7, another crucial passing opportunity on this circuit. Always working, always turning, setting the car up, hustling the car, preparing for the next section, and here we are into a fairly high-speed portion of the track, starting sector 3.
Nelson, when you were doing this, how are you feeling? 'Cause it's busy, there's a lot going on here.
This sector we just passed through is one of the quickest area of the track, and for me it's the toughest one. I think the drivers in that sector we just passed are going to make a big difference in qualifying. You come into the last 2 corners over here, as Oliver said, really busy track, and I think it's a driver's track over here. I mean, it's not too bumpy, but you cannot go off the racing line. You cannot see the dirt over here. You've seen drivers, if they go a little bit off the line, they're spinning, they're causing, losing a lot of time. So you need to be really focused. It is an amazing track over here in terms of speed. Temperature's going to be high, so it's going to be very demanding and very tough for the drivers, cars, teams.
Yeah, I want to point out this final stretch onto the start-finish, the only straight line acceleration on this circuit. So the rest of the corners, you're having some wheel in the car, trying to accelerate and leave the corner, which causes oversteer. So that's a very difficult part of this track.
It's going to be a fascinating race, it has to be said, but in terms of qualifying the duels, this could be crucial in deciding the eventual outcome of the race, especially because in terms of efficiency, it's not like we saw in Sao Paulo, it's not like we saw in South Africa. Race. So without further ado, let's get the qualifying underway. Who will make it through to the duels? And so we can hand over to our commentary team for this one.
The Jakarta E-Prix is moments away from the qualifying format as well. The traditional 2 groups of qualifying of 12 minutes each. The first group will see Nick Cassidy, Jake Dennis, Jean-Eric Verne, Sam Bird, Jake Hughes, Stoffel Van Dorn, Sasha Fenestraz, Dan Ticktum, Sergio Santecama, Robin Frines and Roberto Medi making their debut in the championship as well. There's the Beach City Arena at Jakarta as well. And we're getting ready for the second part of the day to begin. Practice this morning provided us with the interesting angle of who's hot and who's not. Now this group qualifying stage is going to get underway. Alongside, in the Formula E World Feed commentary box we'll be hearing from as well is Karun Chandhok, and making his Formula E commentary debut, it's veteran motorsport commentator Ben Edwards. Alongside me in the commentary box as well for the race later is going to be Nick Homewood. Ed Hunter not with us this weekend as well. Green light is on and we're underway then with the cars getting ready to head out the circuit. Let's have a word then with Ben Edwards and Karun Chandhok.
Here. So of course that is an issue on, even though we're only looking at one flying lap, maybe a couple of flying laps in this session, that is an issue with the tyres, because at some tracks you've got to work those tyres quite hard. Here, maybe look after them a little more cautiously.
Yeah, that's right. You know, what we're going to see are two different factors here. One is, as you rightly said, the tyres and the temperature and the effect that's going to have, because you can't do too many laps before the temperatures get way out of the optimum window. But conversely, the more laps the drivers do, the track will get cleaned up. So I fully expect the last lap to be the fastest one. And what the teams and the drivers have got to do with their timing is make sure that they've got cool tyres for that final lap.
So the session is underway. Robin Friends is heading out the circuit as well, and we'll be setting lap times, just coming into the middle half of the track now. Two groups will go out, of course, both 12 minutes in length, and then afterwards we'll go into our dual format with 4 quarterfinals, 2 semi-finals, and then 1 final where the winner will get 3 points. Fastest in the group stages will get 1 point as well, so we'll note down the times as across the line comes the McLaren as well in towards turn number 1. This is Jake Hughes coming out to take an opportunity of the brakes, slings it in towards turn number 1, which opens up from a right-hander into a very tight double right into turns 2 and 3 for a long sweep opening left-hander at turns 4 and 5. Boots back up and now little kink at turn 6, which is technically on the straightaway, into turn 7. Locks the rear brakes, does Hughes, and kicks it up a bit in the dust as well. It wasn't up great. First sector is a 20.458. Friends has done a 20.444, so he's already better. SHT saying, hey mate, who do you predict for pole position for this qualifying session? Nick Cassidy was looking quick, but my personal pick is Max Gunther. Top in practice 1, top in practice 2. Maserati's looking quick, so I'm thinking that we're going to see Gunther on a pole position, and he's out in the second session as well. As we look through, first time's coming on. Jake Hughes will come across the line, and Hughes will set the benchmark of a 1:11.129. Friends is already looking faster as well. Drifting the rear of the Act Cupra, keeping it on the accelerator into the last 2 corners. At turn number 18, boots it hard, full electric power, a little bit of a slide from the rear on the sand that's around this reclaimed swamp circuit. Friends is a 1:10.290 on the first times. Karun.
When we get to the dual stages, when they use the higher power mode of 350 kilowatts.
Yeah, that's a good point. They're not allowed to use that higher power mode until we get into the duels. So Jake Dennis here in the Avalanche Andretti, one of the championship contenders, currently sitting at 3rd in the championship at the moment. Let's just see how this comes across the line for him. It's a good lap time, 1:09.2. So now we're into the 1-minute 9s. That's more like it. Sam Bird was going well earlier. He goes second fastest to Jake Dennis.
That's a strong lap from Jake Dennis. 4/10 clear of Sam Bird. Sasha Fenestraz pops into 4th place, and Nick Cassidy, the championship leader, now into 2nd, which is encouraging for Nick. He didn't have a great run at free practice. He was outside the top 10, as was his teammate that we were seeing there, Sebastian Buemi. Both Envision cars didn't have a great run this morning, so that'll be a bit of optimism in that team now.
P1 by 4.5 tenths so far to Bird.
Got some weird, knocking on the right front suspension.
Dennis has got knocking on the front right suspension.
He's got some weird knocking on the right front suspension. Let's hope that's not a major problem. We're waiting for Van Dorn and Verne to set a lap time.
They're on their laps now as well, with Van Dorn circulating as they swing through. It's quite exciting. It's the first time I've had Ben Edwards in my ear during a race commentary since 2018 as well. That's the last time I've heard Ben live in commentary, because of course from 2019 onwards, despite the fact they did the British Grand Prix, it was Sky Sports F1 we took on our TV pictures. It has been Sky ever since, on for every race, including British Grand Prix. Van Dorn's flying into it now, keeping the exit. First sector's looking good at a 20.149. Second sector is on 21.287, so Van Dorn is quicker, and fingers crossed he's going to remain quicker, is what he needs to do. Vern in the first two sectors, he's been doing a 20.307 and a 21.665, so Vern's down on the times. Van Dorn is finding the time and is pushing hard up towards the checkered flag point, and Van Dorn does a 1:09.245. He is 22 thousandths quicker than Dennis, and Vern goes 6th fastest. Freins goes 5th. That pushes Vern down into 7th position. So we've already lost a couple of times in this opening part of Group A qualifying. Bird starting a lap time, drifting it, almost putting it in the wall, coming out of turn 3 and 4 as well. So Bird's really pushing to the limit as he comes through hairpins now as well at turn 13.
4th position. But it's all about the top 4. When we get into the final couple of minutes of this Group A qualifying, it's who's going to be in the top 4, because you get into the duels, as that graphic shows you, if you're in the top 4. If you're not, then that's qualifying over.
Oh, Bird.
That was close to the wall, wasn't it? He's up to the line, and he's lost time in the last sector with that slide out of the final corner. So there's an interesting decision to be made now by all these drivers. Do they come into the pits and put on another set of tyres? They only get two sets of tyres for the entire day's running. But if they put another set on, they'll be cool. These tyres they've got on their cars now have done 4 laps already, and therefore it's you know, they're going to be probably 40-50 degrees hotter than the ones that are sitting in the pits.
Cassidy is now 3rd fastest as well, and that's put Van Dorn, Dennis, Cassidy and Fenestra as 1, 2, 3, 4 in this session. Let's take a look at Sam Bird. This is his little mistake coming out of turn 18 and almost brushing the wall. Takes too much entry curb as well. The rear of the car hits the bump and bottles, and he did actually touch the wall. So Bird did actually whack the wall. Let's see what he's like on board. So swings the car in, drifts it wide, and gets a big knock and a retardation of the energy as well. So a bit off the nose there, unfortunately, for Sam Bird, as they come back through. Oops, and that's Hughes as well we're watching now in the McLaren. 10th fastest at the moment. He's 18 thousandths of a second down. One thing you've got to remember is it's 10:47 in the morning over there in Jakarta, but here in the UK where we're commentating, it is 4:47, just turned 4:48 a.m. So if my voice isn't the usual exuberance it is, I'm trying to keep it down. As into the pit lane comes Hughes, and there's some traffic on the entry there as well, one of the Neo cars. Can't tell who it is, actually. I think it was Tictum ahead. Yeah, it's both actually, so it's Tictum and City Cameron that have been held as all the cars come into the pits. Let's head on to Bennett.
Didn't really do a proper lap first time round. The lap he aborted was good, would have been good enough to get into 3rd place. So there is pace in that McLaren. We've seen, as you said before, in qualifying. He's just got to close the lap out now.
Sam Bird's pretty happy with his car apparently, but he's down in 5th place now, so he's going to have to find a little bit more pace as this session continues. And we are beginning to ramp up now with under 3.5 minutes to go. Tyres being changed.
Yeah, so the fresher, cooler tyres going on to Sam Bird's car, and similarly down at McLaren, lots of activity around Jake Hughes. They've got 3 minutes to go, so leaving themselves just a couple of laps here, aren't they? You know, maybe some drivers feel they could do it straight away on lap 1. Others thinking they might need to do a build lap, which is essentially a lap at about 80% to just try and get the temperatures even between the front and the rear of the car.
So here we are watching Roberto Merri, who's making his debut, the Spaniard, 32 years old. His debut in Formula E, but lots of experience in single-seater racing over the years. But this is so different, driving in Formula E with the electrical power, with the regeneration. When you get onto the brakes, it's not hydraulic brakes most of the time on the front, it's the It's the powertrain in the front of the car that's generating the power back into the battery, generating that energy. Let's keep an eye on Merry and see how he's getting on here. Obviously trying to learn it all on a street track as well, never easy.
Yeah, it's a real challenge in Formula E because they are so different. You know, I know I'm saying the obvious by saying that obviously it's an electric car, but it is vastly different just in terms of how the driving experience is behind the wheel. All of the things that you mentioned, Ben, completely valid, and it makes it, I think, in terms of being able to adapt, one of the hardest categories to just get in and get on with it.
Well, here he is. He's kept it together, but you can see there's a lot of movement going on. He goes 10th fastest, so he goes one up from that lower position. But I think he's still taking a lot on board because you've got to try and keep it as smooth as possible. It wasn't the smoothest run by any means there, and he's still trying to absorb it all. But he's got 2 races this weekend. He'll have another qualifying session tomorrow for round 11, so there's plenty of opportunity to try and absorb more information. Now we're getting into the key phase of Group A. As you can see, a lot of the cars are out on track now as the clock is ticking away, and they all want to get that final lap in. We could see a complete change in the order as to who's going to get into the duels. Right now it's Van Dorn from Dennis, Nick Cassidy, the championship leader, in 3rd place, and Sacha Fenestrez, who's qualified well actually on several occasions. Again in Monaco last time out, he was right up there. Let's see whether he's going to stay in the top 4, or is Sam Bird going to get in there, for example.
Okay, we're good on time. We're good on time.
Right, so they're all aiming for 1 lap here, aren't they? You know, there's less than a minute on the clock, and so therefore they've all put themselves in this position where they're going to get 1 shot at getting into the duels.
This is going to be extremely tense then for everybody as the clock begins to tick down. 20 seconds left. Is everyone going to get through that course okay? I really hope so, but there's a few cars that might not make it that 1 out laps as well. So I think everybody's now starting lap time as the checkered flag comes out. Dennis is up by a 10th as well. So it's Van Dorn, Dennis, Cassidy, Fenestrez, 1, 2, 3, 4 in the drop zone. Bird, Friends, Vern, Centre Camera, Tickton, Merry, and Hughes as well. Really embarrassing from Hughes to be 11th as well in that McLaren, considering Roberto Merry is in his first weekend in FIA Formula E. Has it come through? I was aiming for Formula E and it didn't come through. Here's Dennis then. Tickton goes 3rd. Setting cameras out. He starts 6th as well. Hughes only manages 10th position. Really bad for the McLarens here at the moment. But Dennis is fastest in the first sector with a 19 as well. Points 968. He's already safe as he's going to be the next to cross the line. Cassidy's looking quick as well. Across the line then comes Jake Dennis to take the checkered, and Dennis goes top. 109.013. Cassidy 3rd at the moment. Improves. Nope, stays in 3rd. Van Dorn is in 2nd at the moment. Stays 2nd. Fenestrez as well. Vern goes through. Out goes Tickton. And Bird only goes into 6th place as well. That's 12th on the grid at most. Cross the line. Friends pushes out Cassidy, the championship leader. Doesn't make it through to the duels as well. As Mary's going to cross the line. Does he improve anywhere? No, Mary stays 11th. Wow, it is Cassidy, the big surprise here in the opening session from the Formula E Grand Prix of Jakarta. Dennis, Van Dorn, Vernon Friends progress to the duels. Cassidy, the championship leader's out.
Okay, I guess we missed it. Sorry.
Yeah, they missed it as well. Cassidy, Fenestrez, Tickton, Bird, Centre Camera, Hughes and Merry kicked out of the qualifying session. Wow, the championship leader. That's how it changes as James Bartley watched on. The Jaguar TCS team principal as well, all watching on and seeing the difference. So, Dennis Van Dorn, Vern Friends, the 4 going through. Cassidy, Fenestrez, Tickton, Bird, Centre Camera, Hughes and Merry out of the session. Let's hand back over to Brendan and Karoon.
For Cassidy, obviously, having Dennis up at the front is slightly ominous, but we'll see how the duels unfold for Dennis.
Absolutely right, yeah. But Robin Friends, great effort by Robin in the Ad Cupra. He's had 1 pole this year. That was in the wet in Berlin. That was the only time really the car looked quite so rapid, but well done to Robin, and we'll have to see how it goes in the next stage for him in the duels. So the top 4 will be going through to the next stage. Jake Dennis setting the pace, but it was very close with Stoffel van Dorn. Well done to TS Penske, getting both of their cars into the next part, and Robin Freins, excellent, but missing out the likes of Nick Cassidy, Fenestres and Sam Bird as well. Into the garage, and well, lots of fun and games. Let's go down to Radzi in the pit lane.
Well, I'm joined by a very happy man here, Kelvin van der Linde from Apta Cupra, because your teammate has just gone through to the duels.
Yeah, absolutely great job by Robin. To be honest, nobody expected that, but I think that's really just the nature of today's qualifying. You have one shot. You know, in the past where it was a bit cooler, the guys had a couple of attempts at it, and here you can see Robin made the difference today.
I'm not sure how much of free practice 1 and 2 you saw. One of the big storylines for me was Nick Cassidy and Envision. They had issues in free practice 1, 2 he span, and he hasn't gone through to the duels. The man who's currently leading championship is out.
I mean, it's 2000, so it's really it's a hair to get in or get out, and that's how Formula E is. But that said, they've got great race pace, so I have no doubt that he'll be fine in the race.
Well, talking about Envision, let's speak to the team principal now, who's with Saunders Carmichael Brown.
So yes, I'm here with Sylvain Filippi, team principal of Envision Racing. Not the ideal start to the day with Nick in qualifying. Your point of view?
Yeah, we've improved. Nick was very thankful. We've improved the car a lot through the sessions. Obviously very tricky conditions, dusty track, really hot, so we've played a lot with the setup. He was quite happy with where we ended up, but he missed out for like 0.003 of a second, which is really nothing. Great lap from Robin, we need to look at that. So yeah, really frustrating to miss out on the duels by such a small margin. But overall he's happy with the car, so now we need to see what we can do in the race. It's not
we don't need to look that far back to see Nick win a race from P9, only the last race in Monaco. Is that possible here, or is it going to be harder to make overtakes?
Yeah, it's going to be more difficult here because of the track layout, and the energy targets are easier to achieve. So yeah, it's not going to be so easy. We hope we can make up some places, but you know, we'll see. Also, you know, temperatures will play a role. There might be some derating, you know, stuff will happen during the race for sure. But yeah, not ideal.
Yeah, challenges ahead, but thanks for the chat. Thank you.
Well, interesting times for the team, of course, and we've seen many people in the races this year coming through, having qualified further down the order, so it's certainly not all over, but it's still important. It's still very important to teams and drivers to try and get into that top 4, into the duels, and of course, remember, there are 3 points on offer for pole position. That can make a big difference.
Can indeed, Ben. Green light is on and Group B is underway with Verline, Evans, Da Costa, Boemi, Rast, Gunther, Degrassi, Nato, Mortara, Muller and Beckman all heading out on the track now as well to set their times in this Group B qualifying format. And fingers crossed as well that we're going to have an interesting run and a faster run as well. Take a look here, look, most wins, Mitch Evans. But as well, track length, as I said, 2.4 kilometres as well. That's 1.47 miles, 40 laps ahead of us later on as they keep on. Fantastic little stat box we've got down there as well. I absolutely love the little things we can pop up on the stream. Let's catch up with SHT. Hughesman, massive struggle. Bird is out, Cassie's out, Fry's the top 8. Looking good. Can the 2 Maseratis take the top honours? Gunther topped practice 1 and practice 2. It's looking good. He's visualising the track there as well. Mortara's up there. High humidity though at the moment as well. Take a look at it as well. Track temperature 41 degrees. Air temperature 33 degrees. And look at that humidity. 54% humidity. 35% chance of rain in this today as well. And that's why Nikki Shields isn't with us this weekend with her pregnancy. It's very unwise for her to be in a high humidity climate as well. So she'll be back with us in Portland in a few weeks' time. Right, first lap times are on. Ben.
And interestingly, both Porsches. I mean, that's 4 quick cars in itself, isn't it? Pascal Wehrlein in one of the Porsches, along with his teammate Da Costa, and then we've got both Maseratis. And as you say, we don't know about Mortara, but he was quick in first practice on Friday, so possibility. But then you've got Boemi in the Envision, he's likely to be quick as well. We did see his teammate just miss out, so can Sebastian Boemi try and throw that away and get that Envision into the duel. The Swiss, who won the title in the past, who's had 13 victories, the most wins in Formula E, tied with Di Grassi in that number. But in terms of qualifying, he does have he has 16 pole positions, the most of anybody in Formula E history. So let's see how this lap's going. Is he going to be able to add to his tally?
It's been pretty neat and tidy, just watching it unfold, no real mistakes, and he's been sort of avoiding the dirty bits and keeping it in all the grippy parts of the track, and it's popped him up with a 9.3. So I think that's a competitive time for a first effort in the session. David Beckman, the other rookie, we saw Roberto Meri in the opening group, and David Beckman replacing Andre Lotre at Avalanche Andretti. Andre is off at Le Mans, preparing for the 24-hour race as Beckman goes third at the moment, but I don't think that is going to be enough.
No, I wouldn't have thought so, but he's still learning everything, and maybe there's going to be more opportunity. Now, we're watching Antonio Felix da Costa here as he gets the Porsche up to speed and really could do... He's just outside the top 5 in the championship at the moment. Dropped a little way away. He's had one victory. He could do with a good weekend if he's going to continue a championship contest. And he's gone 4th fastest. So again, a little bit marginal there, just in the dual zone for the moment. New fastest lap by his teammate, though, Pascal Wehrlein. Now that's going to encourage Porsche into the 1:08.
Time's coming on the board then. Wehrlein, 1:08.989. Evans second. Buemi third. Nato's fourth. And then in the drop zone, we've got Muller, Da Costa, Di Grassi, Rast, and Beckman in there too. Haven't seen anything from Mortara yet, actually, as he jumps up to 10th across the line. Gunther goes and stays in second position. So Mortara's building up to a lap here then on his 11 runs as well. So everyone's at a lap time, and it's Beckman off the pace, but Mortara surprisingly too. That's a bit alarming in the early stages.
Good for Jackie, as you say. Whether they're going to get that car in there or not, we shall wait and see. Pascal Wehrlein, though, going fastest for the moment over Max Günther. And you can scan the Formula E predictor, of course, and get involved and predict who's going to be up there in qualifying. At the end of all this, we will then measure it to see who actually does do it.
Yeah, Edo Mortara down in 10th place, and that, of course, is his first proper timed lap of today. First free practice session being yesterday, so track conditions will be pretty significantly different from when Edo last went for a push lap.
Okay, I've got a front locking understeer. I go BMEC -1.
Gunther doesn't like it.
Trying to make an adjustment on the brake balance there and just move some of the brake power towards the rear of the car. So we'll see. So they're all driving up relatively slowly here to just try and cool the tires down and just bring everything back under control. They would have had one big push lap, everything's sliding around, and they're going to have another go. So here's Evans. He's shooting off down the start-finish straight towards the big, wide-open turn 1, looking down from the helicopter there. Rear of the car squirming around a little bit as we switch to Nico Muller in the apt. I mean, you have to say, Freins being the surprise of Group A, that is a bit of a benchmark here for Nico Muller.
Yeah, we're going to have to watch Nico, see whether he's got the same pace as his teammate has on this stage. So Nico Muller, who did end up on the front row with him in the wet in Berlin in qualifying some while ago this year, but yeah, he's put together a reasonable lap. But Pascal Wehrlein's done an even better first sector. Günther is on another pretty good lap as well. Let's just
yeah, they are. Muller across the line in the app, 6th fastest. Does he improve? No, he doesn't. Da Costa's 7th at the moment. This Group B is not seeing as much performance increase as I was expecting, actually. They're quite just sort of staying calm. Across the line then, Da Costa does jump up to 4th. Wehrlein is behind. He's P1, and does he improve? No. Yes, 108.866. So Wehrlein does improve at the timing order, but the timing tower has already changed compared to what it was on the TV picture, so not happy there. Gunther 2nd, Evans 3rd, Da Costa 4th as well. Buemi is in 5th position. Now Mortara jumps up to 6th, so he's just outside of it. So Gunther, my pick for pole position. Looks like he's going to go through comfortably. Mortara's teammate, though, is finding some issues with this, being in 6th position. Oh, big lock-up. And slide coming still on for Buemi. Didn't like that entrance as well. Rast trying to control it as well through the first corner. Drifts a big snap coming into 2 as well. That's going to be a hard stopper moment for Rene as he fights the car coming into turn 3, 4 and 5 for the long sweep. Now at turn 6, past the first sector time. Rast is a 20.172 as he breaks now into turn 7. Double at 8 then as well, and 9 as we open it back. Little kink as well, then straight back into the right hairpin at 10. Into 11. And then now into the attack mode where the safety car lights will come off hard onto the brakes into the hairpin at turn 13. Hugs the inside curve. Second sector's a 21.510 for Rast. Up towards 15, 16 hairpin. Attack mode on the outside line here as he punches it through 17 and into the pit lane as well, as does all the field. Everyone's in the pit lane. Back to Ben.
Yeah, as I was saying, Ben, the top two, they really are a cut above everyone else in this group. You know, 3.5 tenths to Evans. That's a significant margin in Formula E terms. We don't normally see such big gaps, and we'll see when we get on the final run whether that starts to close up a bit.
Yeah, and I think particularly, as you say, you can see whether Eden Motara, who's got up to 6th, despite not doing free practice earlier on today, except for sort of 3/4 of a lap before he did some damage. Norman Nato here, he's now down in 7th place in the Nissan. So whether he can find that little bit of extra as we look down at the car that is fastest right now, the Maserati of Max Günther. He has been impressive all weekend so far, fastest in FP1 and in FP2. Is he going to continue this by being fastest in Group B and making sure that he gets into the duels? I have to say, that's looking very likely he's going to be into the duels. Mitch Evans, though, he's third currently. We saw Sam Bird miss out in Group A, but there is an opportunity for him. And Pascal Wehrlein, this is looking more promising for Pascal Wehrlein. He's been through a bit of a tough time. He was championship leader, obviously, in the earlier part of this season, but in recent times, Wehrlein has not had any very good qualifying sessions, really. Second Berlin race in the wet, he did a decent job. He was in the duels there, but he wasn't in the duels in Monaco, nor was he in the first race in Berlin and Sao Paulo as well. He didn't get into the duels, so it would be a key day for him if Pascal Wehrlein can get into the duel.
So David Beckman at the bottom of the times at the moment. He's the rookie, of course, as I mentioned before, so we'll see what he can do in this final run. But Buemi's gone a bit earlier than other people. He could do 2 laps, I think, if he got on with it. It's going to be a bit tight, but I think most likely everyone's just going to aim for 1 lap here.
Okay, well, let's see what he can do. He has out-qualified his teammate Nick Cassidy 6-3 this year, and it looks like he's got a good chance perhaps of out-qualifying him again, but let's wait and see. I mean, he's 5th at the moment, which is exactly where Cassidy was in Group A. It'll then depend effectively on who takes pole as to which way they get split at the end of all of this, but that will come up after the duels. But we are getting into the crucial stage now for Group B. We've got a top 4 right now, but that could all shift when they get onto their final flying lap to see who can make it into the top 4 and get into the quarterfinal.
Yeah, they're all messing around for position here, don't they? You know, they want to just be careful that they don't, for example, if you are Günther or Wehrlein, you don't want to get stuck in the queue behind Beckman, for example, you know, who's 2.5 off the pace at the moment. But Buemi has got nobody in front of him, and he's going to go set the early benchmark. Only 50 seconds to go on the clock as he started, and that means that he will only get 1 shot at this.
So it's a lovely onboard view, and watch that steering, see how much action there is now. He's trying to keep it smooth. He gets on the pad, a little bit of correction, a little bit of oversteer. Now, this is a fast sweeper coming up.
Yep, bumpy as well. You could hear the car bottoming out as he tries to get the nose in, missed the apex by a little bit there for the left-hander, but managed to get a good line through this windy bit of the track as we come through 8, 9, 10, and now through 11, as the track now starts to speed up and open up, heading towards the turn 13 hairpin.
He's keeping it tidy. This is a good drive from Sebastian Buemi.
It is indeed, as the checker flag is out. So who's going to be where in this session then? Everyone just coming to the line. I think Nato's going to take the flag as well. So, who's going to get through into the duels and who is going to be kicked out?
hasn't been quick enough, has it?
I can still hear Ben and Corinne in my back of my ears, actually. Boemi, fourth. Only stays there, doesn't improve.
At the moment, but there is a big laps coming up behind him.
Rennie Rast jumps up. Well done to Rennie Rast.
That helps. There was something leading through as well in the background. Okay, end of the session then. Rast goes third. That kicks out Boemi. Evans is on the cusp as well. Gunther's up there. Beckman stays 10th, but out-qualifies de Grassi. That's impressive on debut. Gunther stays top. Mortara makes it through by kicking out Evans, but he only goes 4th. Verline and Rast stay 2nd and 3rd. So it's Evans, Da Costa, as Da Costa stays 7th, and behind Muller goes 5th. Evans just behind him as well. Is he going to get through to the top 4? No. What about Norman Nato? Cross the line. De Grassi stays 11th. What about Nato? Stays 9th. Gunther, Verline, Rast, Mortara, the 4 going through into the next half of the qualifying session. Muller, Evans, Boemi, Da Costa, Nato, Beckman, De Grassi will take no further part. Right, Jules up next. Send back over to Corinne and Ben.
3 laps there, which were all very similar lap time, weren't they? So he's clearly got into a good rhythm, a good flow around the circuit. Edo Mortara, good recovery for him. Less than 3/10 away now from Gunther, and that is a very good recovery for him.
No, they'll be very happy indeed, and well done to Max Gunther.
So we've got both cars through. Okay, so we P1 and P4, so both cars went through.
That's impressive. When you've got both cars in the same group, it's always going to be anxious. So well done to Mortara as well, because of the problem he had in practice. It was busy out there, though. There's no doubt that when they were all lining up for that final kind of run, the track was getting pretty busy and down into the last section, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's right. Bit of a traffic jam there. And you see the 2 Porsches just trying to back the pack up, give each other space. But I think the teams factored that in, because when they all crossed the line, they all had a margin of sort of 30-odd seconds of it towards the end. So, yeah, I don't think it was as tight for time as we've seen in other places.
Well, it's going to make for some very interesting situations in the duels here. We've got both Maseratis going into the duels, but we've got both DS Penske's as well from the other group. So teams are doing well in this. But Max Gunther, Pascal Wehrlein, Rennie Rast and Eduardo Mortara have made it through from Group B and are going into the duels. So, entertaining first part to qualifying. It's all going to now build up once again as we get towards the next stage. Let's go down to the pit lane and down to Supercars.
Thanks very much, guys. Yeah, I'm here with James Rossiter from Maserati MSG Racing. A good show of pace so far today.
Yeah, great show. I mean, Max has been on fire from yesterday, really from the first green light. Amazing recovery, I have to say, from Edo's side of the garage. He hit the wall on his first lap this morning, didn't do any running at all in FP2, and to get through to the duels is quite...
Very, very few today, which you just said.
Hopefully you will get to hear what we're going to say now. James Rossiter, a very happy bunny, it has to be said. Nelson, you made a brilliant point to me off air about Jaguar.
Yeah, I mean, I thought this track was going to be more...
Well, we apologise for the continual loss of the commentary.
Is lacking a bit of grip. You know, 4 cars, the 2 Envision cars and the 2 Jaguar cars are out of the duels. So, I mean, that's more of a coincidence. I mean, it just means that they're missing something, a bit of grip, a bit of rear mechanical grip, as that's the part of the car which is different from everybody else's. So, you know, it does show that some of the teams, like Maserati, for example, that even Eduardo Mortara did miss second practice, he's in the duel. So, powertrains are making a big difference over here, giving drivers a bit more confidence in some cases, and others, you know, missing out on the duels.
Well, I'll just use your microphone for just a second there. And so ask Kelvin van der Linde, very interesting situation in terms of powertrains. We do like that for Formula E. We like the fact that it's unpredictable, and we've seen a plot twist again.
Yeah, once again, so many variables out there. I mean, you have to say that Stellantis is looking very strong this weekend. Penske were very strong in the first qualifying, so you really see they've got something. It must be software, I can only imagine, that they've got something to give the drivers confidence around here, and yeah, we have to see how that develops now in the duels.
And now in terms of predicting what's going to happen here, Nelson, this is almost an impossible one, because coming into this, Mitch Evans was a number of our favourites to go all the way and possibly win this race, but 4 of the last 5 races have been won from outside the duels, so it's all still up for grabs.
Well, the most experienced drivers, I think, in the duel right now are the 2 DS drivers. So my bets are going to be one of the 2, because Jeff is very good in qualifying, so is Stoffel. So my bet would be in one of those 2 cars.
We also saw 3 Germans do very well. So will Team Germany continue things? Who knows how this is going to go? The duels will be kicking off very, very shortly, and this can come down to simply 2 1,000ths of a second. It is not to be missed, so do not go anywhere.
So we're getting all set for the quarterfinals to get underway in just a few moments' time. And in quarterfinals this time, we've got 2 teams with a pair of cars each against each other. It's not as if they're against other teams. So we've got the DS Penske team. We've got Jean-Eric Vergne up against his teammate Stoffel van Dorn. And then we've got the Maserati team with Eder Mortara and Max Günther. They're going to be going up against each other. It's a funny one in a way, isn't it, Karun, to be fighting against your teammate in qualifying, trying to get through to the semi-final.
I always quite looking at the pit garages at that time, because the team folks don't know what to do, because, you know, whatever happens, they've won and they've lost, and it all gets a bit awkward. But listen, for the drivers, they want to beat their teammates, absolutely. They've never faced each other as teammates, Jean-Eric Vergne and Stoffel van Dorn this year. Last year, of course, Van Dorn was with Mercedes, and they faced each other 3 times. Van Dorn beating Jeff twice over there.
So here's the lineup. We've got Vergne and Van Dorn just heading down the pit lane at the moment. And then it's Rines versus Jake Dennis. René Rast versus Pascal Wehrlein. And then the 2 Maserati drivers. They'll be the last of the quarter-final runs to see who goes into the semi-finals. And of course the final, and who determines pole position for the first of the 2 rounds here in Jakarta this weekend. So lots to look forward to. Last pole for Stoffel van Dorn was the Sao Paulo race this year. Jean-Eric Vergne, actually, funnily enough, his last pole, Jean-Eric Vergne, was here in Jakarta a year ago. So he hasn't had one this year. Predictors are favouring Van Dorn. Let's see whether that all works out.
Both drivers queuing up there. I think Jean-Eric Vergne is ahead in the queue. There was only 900 spent between them in the qualifying group stages. So super tight, very evenly matched, and they've now got 1 attempt to beat their teammate.
Away we go then for the duels. The cars heading out there onto the track.
And funnily enough, actually, DS Automotive, part of Stellantis, as is Maserati, so there is very much a connection in the powertrains between Maserati and DS Penske, and all 4 cars from those 2 teams are out in qualifying. But what we have seen, Karun, before, as they're on their outlet, qualifying is very much one aspect of Formula E. Racing this year is a very different aspect. It's so much, qualifying is about 1 lap, getting the most. They've got this additional power now that we're into quarterfinals. But when we get into the race, it's so much about storing your energy, holding it.
Yeah, exactly. And as I was saying before, the DS Penske cars, and I think similarly for the Maserati cars, when it's cooler and the track temperature is cooler, they do struggle a bit in qualifying to get the tyres where they want. In these baking hot conditions, they're competitive, and they've got to think about that, because obviously the championship goes to a range of circuits, but at the moment what they're thinking about is how to get the tyres in exactly the right temperature for this lap, as Jean-Eric Vergne comes through turn 18, and he's going to set the benchmark. As you said, Ben, they've been driving around in 300 kilowatt mode all through the group stages. Now they've got an extra 50 kilowatts. That means you arrive at that first braking zone just a little bit faster. So picking that.
And let's see what we're going to see then from Jean-Eric Vergne through turn 1 and 2. We've got split screen with Van Dorn as well, as he's starting his lap to the first sector. Jeff's ahead by 1,000th of a second according to the first 2 sector points, so it's looking a-okay at the moment for Jean-Eric. And in the second phase, Vergne's ahead by 37 thousandths of a second, so there's still a big difference between the 2. Oh, drifting the rear of the car. Vern really attacking it already, that second sector. 41.062 at the moment for Vern. In that middle sector, really wondering why we're hearing so much of Karun and Ben today on the qualifying commentary, because it's not supposed to be like that. Vern's ahead by 76 thousandths of a second as well. Vern's drifting it. Hopefully this won't be the same in the race though, and they actually turn up the track noise a little bit more. Across the line then for Jean-Eric Vern. What's his time? In the quarterfinal, it's a 108.510. Now we take a look to... Here comes Stoffel Van Dorn at the last corner. It's level. It's level at the last corner. This is looking insane for the two. Across the line, and it's not enough. Vern gets it by 78 thousandths of a second. Well done, Vern. He progresses to the semi-finals. Ben.
But Jean-Eric Vern does take the victory in the first of the quarterfinals up against his teammate. But boy, that was close. Very, very rapid.
You'd have to say that they are incredibly evenly matched as a driver lineup in that team, aren't they?
So let's move on to the next head-to-head. It's Robin Friends versus Jake Dennis. And let's see the Jake Dennis. Well, I understand that. Robin Friends surprised us all with the pace that he had in the group session. Here he is, on track right now. He's a talented driver, Robin. Whether he's going to have the pace in this car when it counts right now to get this flying single lap. Let's have a look. He goes over the line to start the flying lap now.
Bit of a squirm as he put the power down to start the lap. He's about 3/10 down on Jake Dennis in the group stages of qualifying, so I'd have to say I agree with that predictor vote. But listen, all it would take is one lockup from Jake Dennis, one little bit going offline, and he has got that extra power on this lap now. And all of a sudden, Friends could be through. So
Dennis is ahead at the moment by 6 thousandths of a second. Friends is down on the first sector time. It's a 19.816 for Dennis. Friends is a 19.925. So it's looking good. 27 thousandths. Dennis now jumping ahead by a full 10th of a second. Friends' second sector is a 41.232. If he wants to improve and find some time up there. Dennis looking on some factor as the same time. Into the last two corners. Dennis is up towards the wall. He's really fighting it. Friends coming up towards the line then. He'll set his first lap time in the quarterfinal. Can he get through to the semi-finals? Friends, 108.957. Now, what does Dennis do? Coming through the last two corners. Keeps it on the accelerator, drifts it round a little bit. I'm not surprised about that, to be fair. Gets a good exit. Dennis pushes hard. What's the lap time then coming from Jake Dennis? Clear top, 108.477. Dennis goes through to the semi-finals.
Jean-Eric Vern. Jake Dennis has taken the spot, but Robin Friends, I think, has done a great job here. And that still means he's going to be well up on the grid when it comes to the race a little bit later on today. So that's the second of the quarterfinals. The third quarterfinal will be getting underway in just a few minutes' time. Head-to-head between René Rast and Pascal Wehrlein. And the predictor vote saying it's very much about the man who was leading the championship earlier this year, Pascal Wehrlein. But let's not discount René Rast, because again, he put in a tremendous lap in his group session. Another very experienced driver. And although Jake Hughes has kind of outdone him a little bit this year, we know René Rast has got what it takes. Okay, here we go.
Yeah, I mean, the McLarens have been good in qualifying. He was a 1/10.5 slower in the group stages when compared to Wehrlein, so we'll see how this unfolds. Pretty tidy into turn one. Now coming through 2 and 3, the long double right-hander there. Now the track starts to open up as he comes through 4. Bit of bouncing around those bumps there. Pascal Wehrlein now, so he's further behind on track, and he's just coming through turn 1. He uses a slightly wider line through 2 and 3. You can see a bit of dust kicking up there as we join Rast now in the middle sector. Wehrlein, 1/4 of a second up on René Rast. So that is a huge chunk of time just in the first sector of the lap.
Yeah, this has not been a good sit lap at all for René Rast. The rear of the car drifting around too much. Wehrlein now 3/10 ahead. So the McLaren that started the year so well is having a lot of problems in the second half of the season when it comes to crunch points. Across the line then will come Rene Rast. The 108 goes by, 192.05 for Rene Rast. Verline next up across the line. This should be easy peasy. He's half a second ahead right now. It's a sad situation for McLaren. This is how McLaren were, says SHT, and sadly it's so. Verline on 108.549, not the fastest time we've seen, but it's enough to get through into the second semi-final. Next up, it's Mortara versus Gunther.
Usual race pace in that car as well.
Good job, dude. Good job. That's off 3.
Rene Rast will be disappointed with that, Ben. He's gone slower in the duel with more power than he did in the group stages by a couple of tenths. So you can see Ian James there on screen. You can understand why he doesn't look particularly pleased, because that's a long way off what he should have done in that part of the session.
And now we've got another team battle. Max Günther and Edo Mortara, and the predictor vote going very much for Max Günther, who has been strong all weekend. He's been fastest in every session so far. Is he going to continue that by being fastest against his teammate? I gather, actually, when we had the teammates out earlier, I've just heard from on radio, Jean-Eric Vergne actually apologised to Van Dorn for beating him, but one of them had to win, so you can't do anything about that with your teammate when you're up against them. Only one of you can win. Mortara is the first on track, setting the pace. So remember, he didn't get to do free practice earlier on today properly because he made contact with the wall, and might make him a bit more careful, whereas Günther's been on it all the time.
Yeah, he's unbeaten so far. In,
6,000.
Mortara, big slide there into 7, so...
Mortara and Gunther, 6,000 is now 59,000 in the first sector as well. Mortara was a 19.870. Gunther's a 19.811. 59,000 between these two. It's going to be very tough. Oh, and Mortara with that slide has dropped half a second. Well, this is a big disappointment from Eduardo Mortara. Gunther, now unless he crashes, has got this one in the bag. He is 6 tenths ahead of Eduardo Mortara. Oh, Mortara's catching him. Gunther's made a mistake that's cost him 2 tenths. Mortara, a 108.704. Gunther's coming through the last 2 corners. Should be an easy domination here. Max Gunther, the man who's topped every session so far this weekend. Practice 1, practice 2. He topped the group stage as well. Can he top the quarterfinal? Yes, he can, and get himself into the semis. So 108.402 for Max Gunther as well. So the semi-final number 1, Vergne and Dennis. Semi-final 2, Verline and Gunther. Back to the boys in feed.
See this, his best...
Oh, this is Gunther's slide coming into the second sector, actually.
This year, that is. He's, in the past, had some good qualifying performances. He's never had pole, though. He's qualified second on 5 occasions in his Formula E career, but he's never had pole. And I have to say, today could be an opportunity for that.
It's got to be his best chance, hasn't it? I mean, this is what I really like about this qualifying format, is you get that, you know, that result every few minutes there throughout these duels, but also now, Ben, you create this filter where the cream rises. You know, the top 4 that we see in the semis, all on a lap within a 1.5 of each other. All 4 cars held by just 1.5 tenths, which is brilliant.
Well, that's how it's all worked through the quarterfinals. We're going to get ready now for the semi-finals. Jean-Eric Vergne against Jake Dennis. Pascal Wehrlein up against Max Günther. Well, semi-final getting underway in a little few minutes now. It's going to be very exciting indeed. Let's get back down to the pit lane and back to Radzi.
Thank you very much. Fascinating quarterfinals there in the duels. And kicking off, lads, Porsche, Pascal Wehrlein, we asked the big question, how will he handle being usurped in the championship? The answer is very well. He's got his first win in any duels this season, Calvin.
absolutely amazing. And we know the Porsches race well, so that's a big confidence boost for him. That's what we want to see for the championship. It's going to make it exciting, especially with Nick Cassidy being out. So I think for Pascal, he's got it all to win really in the qualifying, and it'll give him confidence knowing that he's got a good race car as well.
He takes on Gunther in the second of the semi-finals. James Roster guaranteed to have a car on at least the second row. In terms of the other semi-finals, Dennis and Jev. Jev behind us here, he's a happy bunny. Jean-Eric Vergne, could it be history repeating itself? He took pole in Jakarta last season.
Well, like I said, I think we have a very experienced driver, a very quick driver. In these conditions, for qualifying Jules, Jev has been always very strong. The team is very strong. My bets are still on him. It's going to be tough for him, but with his experience and his talent, I think he's going to go through to the finals.
Talking about Jake Dennis, he's going to have to better him. Jake Dennis has turned things around. The momentum's in his favour. 2 podiums in the last 2 races and producing it in duels that he historically doesn't necessarily like.
Yeah, I think great to see Jake up there as well. I think it will be important for him. We've spoken about it enough. Probably the qualifying, probably the most important one of the season. So Jake will want to be up there. He's in the semi-finals, so he'll definitely be under the top 6. And that's exactly what he wants, especially for his championship fight.
So you're guaranteed to be on the second row. Do you now roll the dice of destiny? Do you basically just go all out? Or do you actually think, no, I really would like to get through potentially to the final?
I would keep it together, keep it safe. Main rivals in the championship are starting behind for qualifying, so keep it safe, keep the car in one piece, because you have a long race ahead of you later today. And starting in the first 2 rolls, 3 rolls of the race, it is already avoiding a lot of the mess that is going to happen. Most of the times, to the middle of the back of the field, you don't want to be in that area. So just by being in the top 3 rows over there, it is very important. So just keep it safe and focus on the race now.
Kelvin, we love Jules. It's so close, it's so unpredictable.
It really is. I mean, that's what we live for. That's what Formula E is about. But nonetheless, we know it's about the race. That's where the points get really handed out. So, we've got an exciting final coming up. I'm really excited.
Exciting final, exciting 2 semi-finals. So let's hand back to commentary.
Yeah, this is going to be fun, seeing how the semi-finals develop and who is going to get through to the final head-to-head shootout for the battle in pole position. That's going to be fun to see. And Jean-Eric Vergne and Jake Dennis, that's going to be a big battle, but we've heard that Jake Dennis is feeling pretty confident about being Jean-Eric Vergne. We shall see. So, just waiting to see how this goes with the first of the 2 semi-finals. And Jean-Eric Vergne has such experience, of course, a great winner in the world of Formula E, but Jake Dennis has got good pace himself. And we're going to see the semi-final start in just a few minutes' time. Now the build-up, now this little adrenaline build-up is even bigger, isn't it, for these guys?
Yeah, that's right. I mean, but, as you said, Ben, Jean-Eric Vergne, tremendously experienced. It's his 9th semi-final appearance, which is a Formula E record. And he's there, eyes closed, just trying to put his thoughts together in terms of visualizing the lap ahead and where he's going to try and improve just a little bit on what he's done in the quarterfinals. That's what they've got to do, is just not try and reinvent the wheel and find 0.4 of a second here. They just, make sure you just chip away as the track improves, and not make any mistakes, crucially.
There's Jake Dennis then, just getting ready to go. No poles to his experience just yet. We saw Stoffel Van Dorn being beaten by his teammate a little bit earlier. Let's hear from him with Saunders.
So Stoffel Van Dorn, a pretty fierce battle there with your teammate in the duels. So close.
Yeah, it was very close between us. I think we've been quite competitive all week so far. So yeah, we had to fight it out together with Jev in the duels. It was very tight, a few hundreds between us, but yeah, I don't know exactly where we're going to end up, but I feel like if we're close to the top 5, we should have a good race from there.
So we've seen on plenty of occasions people win from 6th, 7th, 8th. Dealing with the same case here, or maybe different?
I think it's going to be a little bit different around here. The level of energy saving is maybe not as much as it has been in the last 3 races, let's say. And I think overtaking in general will be a little bit tougher, but I think the guy that is leading is still going to suffer a little bit. So yeah, it's Formula E, there's always action.
I can see how physically demanding it is. I can see the sweat on your forehead. You've still got the cool vest on. I mean, how are the conditions?
Yeah, it's very, very humid out there. This track is actually very small for Formula E, and you're always busy behind the wheel. So no, we're kind of always busy, and yeah, I think the race is going to be quite tough for everyone.
Thanks, Duff.
Thanks.
Yes, it's good to hear that he's got plenty to look forward to, but we've got the battles coming up, the head-to-head contests that everybody is getting ready for right now. And Jean-Eric Vergne, in fact, if Jean-Eric Vergne can manage to win not just this semi-final, but then go into the final and take victory, then he could get to 16 pole positions in his career, which would then equal him again with Sebastian Buemi. These two are always kind of swapping the top steps, whether it's victories or pole positions or leading races, that sort of thing. Jean-Eric Vergne, of course, double champion, and lots of those positions he has at the top of the scale. But it's not going to be easy because Jake Dennis is showing great pace here this weekend, and he has shown us that in qualifying, particularly, that McLaren has been a quick car on several occasions this year. He still hasn't had a pole position to his credit yet, though. Best grid position was that second place in Mexico, which he went on to win. So at the start of the season, very effective for Jake Dennis. Let's see whether he can repeat that sort of performance here today.
Yeah, he was utterly dominant in Mexico, which seems a very long time ago, back in January. And he, you know, followed that up with some strong results in Saudi Arabia, but a bit like Verline, really. You know, the season started off extremely strongly, and then it's not quite been as strong. Although I think in Dennis's case, it's a bit more down to bad luck than it has been for Verline.
So we will see how this works out. We've got Vergne and Dennis, Verline and Günther, and then going into the finals, we shall see how everybody works it out. Whoever is on pole out of this group will be the 8th different pole sitter in 10 races this year. This is the first semi-final then, coming up. It's Vergne versus Dennis, and the predictor vote says that Jake Dennis is going to beat Jean-Eric Vergne. Let's see if that's the case. Jake is confident. I think he's got real confidence in his car, but you've got to get it right on the day when you get out there.
Well, he's 3-0 down, isn't he, as we saw in that graphic, to Jev in the dual head-to-head so far, so he'll be desperate to try and fix that. Jev looking cool, hands on top of the cockpit, just waiting to get going. So here we go. Jean-Eric will be the first car on track, and he will be the one setting the benchmark for Jake Dennis.
So DS Penske celebrating their 100th Formula E. It's the DS Automotive part of that group that is celebrating their 100th Formula E Prix. And that is their opportunity, maybe, to actually start from pole position. But to do that, they're going to have to beat this car. That is the Andretti that Jake Dennis has performed well and is very much a front runner in the championship. They're both in the top 5 in the championship standing, so they are, you know, scoring well throughout the year. Jake Dennis is currently 3rd on 96 points. Jean-Eric Vergne is on 87 points. In between them, funnily enough, in 4th place, Mitch Evans, but Mitch has not made it into this final stage.
No, he hasn't just yet either. The session is getting underway here for the quarter-final, sorry, the semi-final number 1. As you can see, Vergne versus Dennis out here as well. 2 drivers that have been battling throughout the season. It's going to be quite interesting to see which is the quickest here. I picked Dennis as well to possibly win this one as well, so this could be quite interesting in this first run. Okay, Vergne exits the last corner, gets the last lap signal, and a green flag. Away we go as Vergne enters turn number 1. Light on the brakes as well. Regeneration of energy not needed on this first push lap as well. Completely on full power, 350 kilowatts per hour of it. Swings it through. It was a bit slow actually through turns 3 and 4. I'm expecting this to be a lot quicker than from Dennis's time as they swing back in. Dennis is down by 32,000, but what's he like through turn 3 and 4? That's what we're watching now. Oh, Dennis was much nicer, much faster through 3 and 4. And Dennis is ahead by 2/10. As I said, yeah, that small mistake from Vergne in that first sector cost him big time. Dennis is 2/10 ahead at the moment. Trying to keep an eye on both of them, so I can actually take a step back from the commentary screen. Vergne's losing time. That first sector was too slow and it's hemorrhaging him around the rest of the lap. Dennis is 4/10 ahead of him. Dennis is having a fantastic time. Vergne slides coming into turn 16 and 17 out of 18, pushing to the line. Vergne's lap time is a 1:08.740. Dennis is going to have this one by ease. Absolute ease as well. Into the last two corners. Swings it into turn 18. Boots it hard. And Jake Dennis across the line is 0.3 faster. It's a 1:08.381. Jake Dennis will go to the final here in Jakarta for Avalanche Andretti. Nicely done. Next up, though, it's Verline versus Gunther.
This is a tremendous achievement once again for Jake Dennis, and it picks up his opportunities to fight for the championship. He had a tough time at one stage.
Yes. Well done, mate. 3.5 tenths once again, mega job, mega.
So he's guaranteed to start on the front row, which is great to get his World Championship battle back on track. Jev was actually 2.5 tenths slower, Ben, in that semi-final than he was in the quarters. So, yeah, definitely a performance that he'd be a little bit disappointed with there.
The next semi-final, Pascal Wehrlein up against Max Günther. Predictable, saying that Max Günther's more likely. 63% of you are reckoning that he's going to take it. Let's have a look then to see if this works. The Porsche power certainly worked in the Andretti.
It did, and Verline's having a much nicer first two sector corners as well. He's actually quite stable and quite quick on change of direction, 3, 3, 4 and 5 to change from the right to the left. Now looking at Gunther, first sector, mini sectors, 1,000's Gunther's advantage. Verline's looking quite strong. Having to look at the sectors. First sector for Verline is a 19.874. Gunther is cross it now into 19.793. So Gunther is ahead by 81 thousandths of a second as things stand. It's quite close between the two of them. Verline takes a wide entry to turn 13's hairpin. Gets back in the power, the kick of 14. 15 as well, through into the braking zone at 16, pass attack mode. Gunther's ahead by a tenth. Second sector time for Verline's a 21.236. Gunther a 21.053. He's ahead by 2.5 tenths of a second. Verline towards the line. The Porsche doesn't look like it's going to improve much here at the moment. 1:08.646, but Maximilian Gunther, as we've been saying, has been fastest across the weekend so far. Fastest in practice 1, fastest in practice 2, fastest in the group stages, fastest in the quarterfinals. Can he take it all the way to the final by being fastest in the semis as well? Yes, he can. 1:08.271 for Gunther. So the final in 10 minutes' time will be Jake Dennis versus Maximilian Gunther.
Ever pole position here today.
Could
Tell
happen.
you what, the way he's putting it together right now, that's going to be a huge opportunity. He's now been quickest in FP1, FP2.
Yes, mate. Withdraw by almost 4 tenths. Scenario 2 and acknowledge.
And in group qualifying and in his duels so far as well. He's 100% record of being fastest in every session. Well done to Max Günther. And he's got one more battle to go, and that's going to be with Jake Dennis. I think this could be quite a close one.
Yeah, it's going to be pressures on them. But I mean, Gunther's just been on such a run of form. It'll be a massive upset, I think, at this stage if Dennis does beat him in this final, Ben, because you know, Gunther's just been sublime all day long. You know, he's a tenth faster than the time that Dennis did in that semi-final round. So we'll see when we get to the final if he can replicate that pace and whether Dennis can improve.
So the 25-year-old Max Günther, who has got a chance at taking his first pole position. Is it going to work for him? Only 12th in the championship at the moment on 24 points, which just indicates it's been a bit of a tough time. Jake Dennis, who is currently 3rd in the championship on 96 points, getting on the front row is crucial to him. But remember, an extra 3 points goes to whoever gets pole position, and that could be very useful in his championship battle, because that would give him, if he was an extra 3 points, it would put him on to 99. He'd be only 2 points behind Pascal Wehrlein. So pole position here today, worth a lot.
Yeah, exactly. You know, Gunther's not really in the championship fight, but Dennis is firmly in that. So you're absolutely right. An extra 3 points would be a massive, massive bonus for him.
Well, let's wait and see what happens when the two cars do come out for the final part of qualifying and that battle for pole position. And it does, as ever, we've got a real mix of drivers that are going to be up at that top end of the grid. Different teams as well, although as I say that, you know, Maserati and DS Penske have qualified well. The question is, are they going to have the race pace? that is sometimes a very different story? Well, we'll find out that more when we get into the race later on today. But for now, it is all about the battle for pole position. We're going to see Jake Dennis going up against Max Günther very soon. So there we are. The temperatures are rising. The adrenaline is rising as well. We've got under 6 minutes. Let's go back down to Radzi.
Well, Jake Dennis, Max Günther in the final, mouth-watering. Not many people have predicted that one. And Kelvin, first of all, Jake Dennis, there's something going on with that Porsche powertrain. Pascal got through to the semi-finals. That was his second ever win in this year in terms of duels. What's going on there?
Yeah, it's great to see them back. You have to say that I think it is due to the hotter conditions. In Saudi, they were just as strong, in India as well. So I definitely think these conditions do suit them, and great to see them up there. I think it's really important for the championship, for Jake especially. Whenever he's qualified up front, he's been able to convert that. So I think it's a very good omen for him.
Yeah, and to that point, so Jake Dennis this season has either been podium or 0 points, and he's setting himself up to potentially get a podium. What a momentum shift for him.
It's amazing because we're coming up to that point of the championship where you need to be up there up front, and most of his championship rivals are going to be starting far back. So he has a huge chance now of catching Nick Cassidy, catching a lot of points, and being really close to the fight, if he doesn't leave this weekend leading the championship. So great to see him in this form, and he's done fabulous work till now.
He really has. Kelvin, it's great to have you here. You're going to be here all weekend. You watched the qualifying very much with Abt Cupra. What do you learn from that experience? We watched it on the monitor like a viewer would do, but not with yourself. What should we know about that?
Yeah, I think I just really get a behind the scenes of what the current issues or topics are over the race weekend. We've seen so many different issues coming up at different race weekends. This weekend is no different. We have completely different balance changes to what we've had in the past, and I think that really signals that formally you have to be so adaptable. Every weekend you have to be willing to take risks on setup. There's not a lot of time between practice, qualifying, and the races, so you need to be taking risky moves to maybe move up the field, especially when things are not really going well. That we've seen again. I mean, there's where the surprises come out. Abt Cupra doing a great job with one car in the duel, so it's great to see that, follow that from my side, and obviously try and bring that across to you guys.
And just very quickly, in terms of Max Günther, we'd love to see him convert to race situation. He's got a final ahead of him. Can he get his first ever pole?
Let's hope so. I mean, he has nothing to lose. He's not really fighting for the championship. I think it would mean a lot for him, for the team, to get finally his first pole position. The package is there. I mean, he's been showing results since practice, always doing very well. Very calm into the qualifying, the duels, winning all of them. So let's see. I mean, I'm cheering for him. He's a good driver. He has a good package, so let's see if they finally can get their first pole position.
So without further ado, we can hand back to our commentary team because it's game on for the final of the first duels here in Jakarta.
This is going to be very interesting to see whether Max Günther is going to be able to take that pole position he wants so much. Looking down over the Jakarta circuit now as we're in a slight moment of build-up and pause before we get out in the fight for qualifying and the fight for pole position. There is Jake Dennis then, who is looking also for an opportunity to take pole position, a man who is fighting in the championship and never had a pole position. Whoever gets pole position out of him and Max Günther, we have a new pole sitter in the world of Formula E. Put your predictor in as well, see who's going to be on top, and you've got to say at the moment, the way that Max Günther in the blue Maserati has been going throughout all of the sessions so far here this weekend, he is the favourite in many ways, but Jake Dennis is an operator and he could deliver a special lap.
Yeah, I just don't know which way to call this, to be honest, because you've got, as you say, Günther's the form man, but it's very hard to rule out Jake Dennis in a Porsche powertrain car this season. You know, they've super tight. I'd like to see Max get it because I think it's a nice story to see him, you know, finish the sweep of the weekend that he's had so far. And but yeah, listen, who knows?
Well, we shall find out. We do know that the pole sitter has not won any of the last 12 races, so that's going back into last year's championship as well, and only has one podium finish in that time. So funnily enough, although we quite rightly get very excited about who's getting pole position, and there are useful points for whoever does, and starting up front, it always means a lot, but in recent races, it has not been a pole position driver that has then gone on to take victory. 12 races without a pole position driver taking a victory. That seems amazing in many ways, but it shows up the scale, the style of Formula E racing at this time.
Yeah, exactly. You know, I think ultimately, from a sporting motor racing perspective, we all get excited about qualifying because it's you know, the ultimate test of speed, and it's a real challenge mentally for the drivers as well to focus on extracting maximum performance in that one lap. But when it gets to the races, you know, you're talking about a strategic battle where it's energy management and the hardware you've got in terms of the, you know, the actual motors and the energy recovery systems, as well as the software. All of that comes into play. But this is, you know, in many ways, this is still a pure out-and-out lap here that they've got to deliver on.
So head-to-head in a duel in the past, Jake Dennis has the 1-0 advantage over Max Günther, but the predictor vote says it's Max Günther that is going to be the winner on this occasion. This is certainly going to be a close one, I think, between the two of them. Unless one makes a mistake, you're only going to get that one flying lap, and it'll be Jake Dennis who goes onto the track first to start setting the various points. Here we go then, the battle for pole position for the Gurvit Jakarta E-Prix is underway because Jake Dennis is on track in the Avalanche Andretti, and in just a few moments time Max Günther will be out there in the Maserati as well. Both have delivered tremendous lap time so far, but which one is going to become a first-time pole sitter in Formula E? We're about to find out.
Yeah, that's it. That is the story, isn't it? Whatever happens, we're going to have a new pole sitter in the World Championship. So that is, that's great on its own.
Sounds good then. Who's it going to be? Günther or Dennis? My money is on Maximilian Günther. I swear he was my pick a winner for this weekend. I want to go double check that as well with the Grid Network, but Gunther's been performing massively as well. Roger Griffiths, the Avalanche Andretti team principal, watching on the pit wall now. This is the final. It all comes down to this. 2.4 kilometres to decide who will be on pole position for round 10 of the ABB FIA Formula E World Championships 9th season. This is coming in for the first of the double here in Jakarta. And away we go with Dennis starting his lap time, pushing hard across the line. Günther will start the second lap time as well. So who has got the big money into turn one? Dennis enters nicely, hits the apex as well, brings it out wide to get a sweep into 2 and 3. Let's take a look at Gunther's first two corners then. Is he faster? It cuts away as well, but right now they're level. 1,000th of a second between them in the first mini sector split. Sector 1 is a 19.875 for Dennis. Gunther's coming out to that time now. What is it? It's a 1:19.753, a tenth up for Günther. So Günther is ahead by a tenth of a second and be right on board with the pair of them. Dennis, though, flirting with the barriers, almost pushing them into the wall at the exit of turn 12, into the hairpin at 13. And he's made a mistake, Dennis, because Günther is 3 tenths ahead. Maximilian Günther is on for his first ever pole position in ABB Formula E, unless Dennis can pull something coming into it as well. Into the last corner, Dennis takes the inside line. He feathers the throttle, punches it hard on the accelerated power of immediate electric energy. It's a 1:08.482 for Dennis. Günther is looking absolutely manic right now out of the last corner, and Maximilian Günther takes the checkered flag with the surety. He has his first ever pole position in Formula E with a 1:08.141. It is Maximilian Günther on pole position for the E-Prix in 3 hours' time. Amazing stuff for Max Günther. Truly, truly amazing.
It's been a great qualifying by him. He's, as I was saying before, it's about chipping away and improving just that little bit. And he's done that. You know, he's at every part of this qualifying.
Come on, mate. That's pole position, 3.5 tenths. Scenario 2 and acknowledge. 2 and acknowledge. Don't take any margin on the in-lap, okay?
And on every step, he's just improved that little bit. You know, he did an 8.40, an 8.27, now an 8.1, and he's just found his rhythm around the circuit in a way that nobody else has.
Yeah, that was superb. So he's kept that 100% record through every single session here today, and yesterday's the first free practice session. And nobody has quite managed to do what he has done.
Thanks for the great log, guys. Let's keep it up.
And yeah, he's very happy with what the team have delivered. Whether they're going to have that race pace, we will find out a little bit later on today. But he will be starting from the top spot, and he has that in his credit now. Very well deserved. And Jake Dennis, I think, will still be knowing that the chance for him to score more points is going to be very, very good as well. Edo Motara there, no doubt celebrating with the team a little bit, even though he didn't make it through to that final stage. But Max Günther scored himself 3 points extra in the championship. Won't actually move him up from 12th place in the points. He is some 4 points behind Stoffel van Dorn in the championship at the moment. Stoffel is currently 11th, Günther is 12th. But the 3 points will still be valuable to him and to the team as well. So that always helps. And actually it will help Maserati as a team, because it will put them ahead of Nissan, funnily enough, in the team's championship. There's only a point between the two at this stage. 7th place for Nissan, 8th place for Maserati, and that means that they have now gone ahead into 7th position. High temperatures, but nonetheless, he's managed to keep it cool when it mattered out there on track. He looks very composed and very steady about it all, doesn't he?
Yeah, no, he's just dealt with the entire day in a very calm and mature way, and I think that is paid dividends, really. You know, I think, as I said, they've had a pretty tough start to the season with incidents and DNFs, and including last time out in Monaco, they came back with 0 points after, I think Max started 4th on the grid there. And the team were really disappointed to come away with no points, so they've now got to build on. I don't think they yet have the race pace and race performance, but if he could come away, maybe if not with a win, but at least with a top 5 finish, or maybe a podium, I think they should be very happy with that.
Yeah, indeed. And get some points out of it. Let's see whether that actually does happen for them. So his car just being pushed out of the way at the moment. And then want to keep that as immaculate as possible as we start the build-up towards the race already. It all happens quickly in Formula E. There's not much waiting around, not much chance to take everything apart and put it back together again. Only a few hours after qualifying, you're straight into the race. The grid from the back, Roberto Meri and Lucas Di Grassi, they'll be starting on the very final row of the grid. Jake Hughes in the McLaren and David Beckman making his debut in the sport as well on the next row. On row 9, Sergio Setecamera and Norman Nato in the Nissan. And on row 8, we've got Sam Bird in the Jaguar. That'll be a bit disappointing for him. Antonio Felix da Costa in the Porsche as well. That's surprising they're so far down. Dan Ticktum, 14th. Sebastian Buemi starting 13th place. Just outside the top 10, Sasha Fenestrez and Mitch Evans are next up. Into the top 10, we do have championship leader Nick Cassidy starting 10th. Nick Muller is 9th, just ahead of him. And then we have Robin Freins and René Rast on the 4th row of the grid. Good effort that from Robin Freins in particular. 3rd row, Stoffel van Dorn. 5th, Eduardo Mortara is 6th. And on the 2nd row, we have 2 potential race winners, Pascal Wehrlein, Jean-Eric Verne. But on the front row, with his first ever pole position, is Max Günther, and Jake Dennis is alongside, and we've seen him take victory already this year. Let's see whether he can do it again, this time from the front row, as he did, in fact, in Mexico. It was the same starting position for him there that he went on to take that victory that started the season. So we shall find out whether he can do the same again. It has been an excellent day for him so far, even if he didn't beat Max Günther. But Max Günther, really great stuff. First time he's taken a pole position in his own single-seater history since 2017 in Formula 3 European Championship at Hockenheim. And he's had reverse grid poles in Formula 2, but that's slightly different, of course. So to earn the qualifying pole last time in 2017. But we've seen good performances from him, just missed out a couple of times when it's come to getting that top spot in qualifying. So many congratulations. Let's go down and hear from him right now.
Congratulations, your first ever pole position in Formula E. Yeah, it feels great. You know, I had a few front rows now, and now to be the first time on pole position is an amazing feeling. I think, yeah, great for the 3 points and to have this position for today.
Talk to us about that final, because it looked tense, and obviously the conditions are making things harder and harder just to be in the car.
Yeah, you can see me sweating a bit. It's quite hot out there, and yeah, you know, I had a good feeling all day so far, as well yesterday. You know, smooth sessions. We were just building it up more and more, and yeah, for sure, you know, tires are an important factor in this condition. Yeah, lots of management as well, what I expect later on in the race. So yeah, great first step, and now focus on the race.
Based on the challenging season you've had so far, what does this mean to you? It must be a real lift.
Absolutely, you know, like definitely the momentum has changed already a few races ago. You know, we had the podium in Berlin, scored good points there. As well, Monaco was a great day. We just couldn't finish the race, unfortunately. But you know, today or this weekend, yeah, it's just continuing in a good shape.
So quickly, just tell us what happens now. How do you manage this race?
Well, you know, this year it's a lot about energy management, more than ever, I think, in Formula E. So you have to play it smart. You know, you have to see a bit how the race is unfolding. For sure, it's good to be in the front. Yeah, you know, I take it from there. For sure, we come up with a good strategy.
Well, now it's time to get your trophy, and doing that would be Visung Yang, the group head of Southeast Asia for Julius Baer, to present the pole position trophy.
So the trophy gets presented then to Maximilian Gunther as well. There's your starting grid alongside us for this one. The Jakarta E-Prix is going to be absolutely fantastic. Okay, we'll be back then with 3 series on at the same time. Yeah, it's going to be quite mad, isn't it? 8:30, we'll be live with the Formula E Jakarta E-Prix. At 9:25, we'll be live with Jess and Synthol commentating as well on the Formula 3 sprint race. And at the same time at 9:25 as well, Josh will be streaming for us the trackside commentary of the British Touring Car Championship opening practice as well. It's going to be a busy, busy, busy day with 6 series on as well. Let's get through it one bit at a time. Easy bit's over. Hard part starts now. Pole position for the Jakarta E-Prix race number 1 of the doubleheader goes to Max Gunther. We'll see you at 8:30 a.m. British Summer Time for all of the coverage. We'll see you then. Bye-bye.